Now, students, as we have completed atom molecules and chemical reaction, now I am going to start is matter pure. So for that, we are going to give you the digital content for the first 2-3 days, then followed by the explanation part of the chapter, each part wise. Okay, students. So watch these videos, make sure that whenever you watch them, keep a pencil with you, or like place a textbook in front of you, so that you'll get the clarity of the concepts which are there in the explanation part and which are there in the textbook part. Okay.
Hello friends, this video on Is Matter Around Us Part 5 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. So let's see these scenarios. There are 4 scenarios now. I have taken 4 different glasses of water. In the first glass, I have put 1 drop of water. In second glass, 2 drops of water. Third glass, 3 drops of water. And fourth glass, 4 drops of water. All these are solution now. Now the question is, are these same solution? Typically, yes, you will say all these are, let's suppose, ink and water solution. But do they have same concentration? Do they have same concentration? So in all these, if you see, they are all ink plus water solution, but the concentration is different, right? The concentration in all these is different. So concentration is different. So this is more dilute, I can say, and this is more concentrated. Okay, but dilute and concentrated is a relative term. Okay, so if you say the amount of solute is less, we say it's a dilute solution. If the amount of solute is more, example in this case you put more solute, I say concentrated solution. But they are very vague term. They are very it's a comparative term actually. So we must quantify this concentration. Let's see how we can quantify this concentration. Okay, so if you want to quantify, see, the concentration of the solution is amount. I'll write definition. Concentration is nothing but amount of solute present in given amount of solution. So the numerical formula for concentration will be concentration of a solution is nothing but amount of solute by amount of solution. Please note, it is not solvent, solute by solution. So says the same thing. The concentration is nothing but amount of solute present in given amount of solution. So the formula is concentration of solution is nothing but amount of solute by amount of solution. Please note, it is not solvent, it is solution. Okay, there are various ways of expressing concentration. We'll see that. So in this case, the concentration for this is high and concentration for this is low. So let's suppose in both cases I have 100 or 1 liter. 1 liter solution, and in this case you add 2 drops, or let's suppose in this case I am adding 20 milliliter. In this case 1 2 3 4 20 into 4 80 milliliter, right? So in first case the concentration will be 20 by, and let's suppose this is 100 ml, 100 ml, right? So 20 by 100 plus 20, this is 120 ml. That will be the concentration. In this case, it will be 80 by 80 plus 100. That is 180. This is ml. This is ml. And ml will get cancelled. Why 80 plus 100? Because the solution is what now? Solution is solute plus solvent. So this is solute 80 ml, and 100 is solvent. Here also 20 by 120 by 20 is solute, and 120 is 100 plus 20, that is solute plus solvent is solution. Okay, so and there are various ways actually to express the concentration of solution. Okay, and they are, you can express by mass percentage, mass by volume percentage, parts per million, mole fraction, molarity. There are so many. We will focus only on the first two. We'll focus on these two. The one in the grade will not study in this class. Maybe we'll study in higher classes. Okay, so let's study the first one, mass percentage. Actually, we can do here itself. So mass percentage, if you see mass percentage, the first one, you say mass percentage of solution, and that is nothing but mass of solute by mass of solution. Both will be mass, it has to be solution, and into 100. That is mass percentage. If you talk about mass by volume percentage, mass by volume percentage, so it will be mass of solute by volume of solute into 100. This is volume percentage, and this is, sorry, mass by volume percentage, and this is mass percentage. Please note, sorry, this is solution, and this is also solution, right? SOL in solution. If you want, I can write like this as well. It is solute by solution. Please note, it is always solute by solution. It is not solute by solvent. Okay, so let's take some numerical on this now. So the question says a solution contains 40 grams salt. So salt is what? Solute. So my solute is 40 grams. Right? This is salt, this is solute, and this is 40 grams. In 320 grams of water. This is water and this is solvent, 320 grams. So let me write solvent 320 grams. So what will be solution? Solution is nothing but solute plus solvent, that is 320 plus 40, that is 360 grams. Okay. Calculate the concentration in mass by percentage. So mass by percentage is what? We just saw mass of solute by mass of solution into 100. What is the mass of solute? 40 grams. What is the mass of solution? 360 grams into 100, and that is my percentage. So gram cancel, 0 0 cancel, and 4 by 36 nothing but 1 by 9. And if you solve this, 4 by 36 into 100, you get 11.1 percentage, and that is my answer. Pretty easy. Just find the mass of solute and the mass of whole solution. Okay, divide them, multiply by 100, you get mass by percentage. Thank you. Visit examfear.com to watch more videos, attempt free online tests, get free study materials, find tutors and mentors, and much more. Thanks once again. Hello friends, this video on Is Matter Around Us Part 6 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. We'll take some activity here. So we'll take a jar of water, a beaker of water. In this we'll add some salt. We'll add some more salt. Maybe you can add some 3 or 4 spoons of salt and try to stir. So when you'll stir, you'll see that some of the salt is dissolved, but some of the salt is still there, right? So you have more salt, and then you stir, you'll see that some of them is dissolved, but some of the salt is still there. You must have seen sometimes when you drink milk, some sugar is already there at the bottom of the glass that is not dissolved. There is excess sugar. Now do one thing. Now heat this solution. If you heat this solution for some time and then try to stir, then you'll see that some more salt is dissolved, but still some salt is less because you have put excess of salt. So now what we have seen is that here we're talking about solubility, right? So when you are heating it, solubility is let's suppose temperature, if you increase the temperature, my solubility also increase. Solubility is directly proportional to temperature. That is something we have observed, right? Because if you see, we had more salt, we stir it, some salt got dissolved in the normal STP, but when we heated it, more salt got dissolved, right? But after some time, more salt could not be dissolved at that particular temperature. So we are seeing that solubility is dependent on temperature. The second activity is take a fresh bottle of Coca-Cola or any soda, open it up. When you open it up, you see that bubbles come out. And these bubbles are nothing but carbon dioxide gas. But when it was packed, it was not coming out. That means something was there. And actually we know that these bottles are packed under high pressure. Since these bottles are packed under high pressure, the moment you open it up, the pressure is reduced. The pressure is the normal atmospheric pressure, and these gas bubbles come out. That means the gas from this soda, the carbon dioxide gas, comes out. That means again here also this is a solution, because here carbon dioxide is dissolved in this water molecule, right? So it is a solution of carbon dioxide in water. Now we've decreased the pressure, the carbon dioxide came out. So that means the solubility is also dependent on pressure, right? And it's directly proportional. The more pressure you have, the more gas particles will dissolve. But again, these things we'll study later. But just I'm trying to relate a relationship between solubility and some factors, right? So we are seeing the solubility is dependent on temperature. We have increased the temperature in this case, the more salt got dissolved. We have decreased the pressure, the carbon dioxide came out from the solution. Okay, next is we'll try to mix oil and water. So if you see, in oil and water, we'll try to mix, it will not mix properly. But if you try to mix oil with something else, let's suppose you try to mix oil with sugar, it will mix. But oil and water, it will not mix. That means the solubility is also dependent on the nature of particle. Right, that also determines solubility. Correct? You can try this actually, these activities in the home. So the solubility actually depends on three factors. There may be more factors, but we'll study these three factors. The nature of particles. If you try to mix water with salt, it will dissolve easily. But again, the same water with oil, it will not dissolve. That means there is something to do with the nature of particles. Right? Same thing when you try to, that means with these three activity, we concluded that the solubility depends on temperature. We have seen that. Depends on pressure and also the nature of particles. Okay. So let's define the term solubility. So we have seen that solubility depends on temperature, pressure and the nature of particles. So, and definition is that any particular temperature and pressure, a solution that has dissolved as much solute that it is capable of dissolving, then it is called a saturated solution. See, that is a saturated solution definition. But before that, let's see the definition of solubility. See, solubility of a substance is the maximum amount of solute that can be dissolved in the solvent. Maximum amount of solute. That is called solubility. In a glass of water, if you can dissolve 5 teaspoons of sugar, that is the solubility of that particular glass of water. It is the maximum amount of solute that can be dissolved in a specified amount of solvent at a given temperature and pressure. Why? Because we have seen that the solubility depends on temperature, pressure and structure. All these three. Example, this scene we have seen that in the salt and water solution, you increase the temperature, more salt gets dissolved. Right? If you increase the some salt get dissolved. So this is the solubility of this particular salt solution at this temperature. The moment you increase the temperature, the solubility changes. If you can see, If you stir it now, more salt gets dissolved. Right? The solubility is dependent on temperature. Pressure also we have seen, when you open the can, the gas come out at this pressure. This is at the high pressure. Here the pressure is more because the can is closed at high pressure. At high pressure, the solubility of gas, solubility of carbon dioxide gas in soda is more. The moment you open up and you reduce the pressure, the solubility of carbon dioxide in soda is less, and thus the carbon dioxide comes out in the form of froth. We have also seen the solubility also depends on structure. In some case they are not soluble at all. In some case they are more soluble. Okay. And a solution is called saturated solution because if it has reached its solubility. See, solubility is what? Solubility of substance is nothing but the maximum amount of solid that it can be dissolved. So in this case, it is a saturated solution. If you add more salt, it won't get dissolved at this particular temperature. Okay. Actually, if you cool it down, if you cool down this solution, if you decrease the temperature, if you cool down, you will see that some salt particles will come back again. And that process is called crystallization. You will see that. If you cool it down, some particles will come out. Because when you decrease the temperature, the solubility of this particular solution decrease, and some particles that is dissolved comes out. We'll see that. Okay. Here also, when you heat this water, you see this bubbles because water has oxygen dissolved. Right? When you heat this water, solubility of oxygen in this water is decreased because you're heating the temperature, and thus the oxygen comes out. You see the bubbles when you heat the water, when you boil the water actually. Okay, that is solubility. So as I told, we'll talk about the dissolution and crystallization. So when a solid solute is added to the solvent, some solutes dissolves, and with this the concentration of solution increase. Right? This process is called dissolution. See, solubility and concentration are two different terms. Solubility is the maximum amount of solute that can be dissolved in a particular solvent, that is fixed for a given solvent or given solution. But if you talk about the concentration, that is the concentration is nothing but the amount of solute present at a given point of time for a given solution. For a given solution, you can have different concentration. For example, water and salt, there will be only one value of solubility at a given temperature. Right? If you have, let's suppose, 1 glass of water, so the solubility at room temperature may be 3 spoons of salt, but the concentration will be different. If you add 2 pinch of salt, that is the concentration. If you add 3 spoons of salt, that is the concentration. If you add 5 spoons of salt, that is the concentration. So concentration is nothing but the concentration of solute at a given time, but solubility for a given solution is fixed, right, at a given temperature and pressure. Hope you understand that. Now, the point I'm trying to say is, see, when you add a solid solute to a solvent, some solids get dissolved, and when the solute get dissolved, increase the concentration of the solution. This process is called dissolution. For example, you take a glass of water, in that you add 2 spoons of salt, you are actually increasing the concentration of salt in the water, and this process is called dissolution. For example, this is the dissolution. You take some water and add some sugar or salt, the concentration of sugar or salt in the water increase. This is called dissolution. Okay, and now these particles collide with each other. You see, the particles are gone now, right? They got dissolved by stirring or heating or just keeping it for some time. Now these particles inside, whatever salt particle is there inside now, this collides with each other. Right? They collide with each other. Also, when you decrease the temperature, also the solubility of this particular solution decrease, and because of that, the salt which you have dissolved, excess salt, comes out, and this process is called crystallization. Crystallization is the process where the solid particles in the solution collide with each other and get separated out, and this typically happens when you decrease the temperature of the solution. Right? So dissolution is the process of mixing solute to a solvent, and crystallization is the process of separating out solute from the solution or solvent. So when you add salt, let's suppose 5 spoons of sugar to a glass of water, and you mix it, the sugar is dissolved, that is called dissolution. Now you keep this water in refrigerator and you'll see that sugar crystals are deposited, right? Or you can use the centrifugation also. There also the sugar particles get deposited somewhere in the bottom of the glass. This process is called crystallization. So crystallization and dissolution are two different processes, and they are two opposite processes actually. Thank you. Visit examfear.com to watch more videos, attempt free online tests, get free study materials, find tutors and mentors, and much more. Thanks once again. Hello friends, this video on Is Matter Around Us Pure Part 8 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. The next is the colloidal solution. See, colloidal, the best example is the milk and or air. Air itself is a colloidal solution. Air typically in the case of rainy season, because it gets some moisture, the humidity is more. See, in colloidal solution, the particles are uniformly spread throughout the solution. So it is a homogeneous. That is something we know. But this is also debatable. Some people say it's heterogeneous because actually if you see the particles are very small size and they are not uniformly distributed, but actually from the naked eyes you will feel it is uniformly distributed. For example, you take some water and milk, dissolve it, you feel it is all uniformly distributed, right? So we call it as a homogeneous mixture. Particle size is actually between actual solution and suspension. So in actual solution we have seen that size is of the range 1 nanometer, like less than that. Here we have seen the size of range 1000 nanometer. So this colloidal is somewhere here. That is between 1 to 1000 nanometer. Okay. So since the size is again small, less than 1000 nanometer, so we can't see the particles from naked eyes. We can't see, but these particles as well scatter beam of light. And this effect is called Tyndall effect, because if you pass the laser light, these will scatter the beam of light, and you can see the path of light here, right? So this is scattering of light, and this is called Tyndall effect. Okay, name after the scientist who discovered this effect, Tyndall effect. And a good example is air. If you see, sometimes when you're in dark room, the light comes from one window or some hole, you see this kind of light, right? Why? Because this is again, if air is a colloidal solution, the light is actually scattering, the external light is getting scattered. So this is the air. Let's suppose this whole thing is my colloidal solution, right? When the external light comes, it gets scattered, the light gets scattered. And that is a Tyndall effect. This is also example of a Tyndall effect. So with this we can see that air is actually a colloidal solution. Okay. Here also it is pretty stable. Particle is, if you keep it for a long time also, the particles won't settle down. So we'll see that in the properties. But let's understand that colloidal solution, the particle size is in this range, 1 nanometer to 1000 nanometer, and shows Tyndall effect. Okay. Scatters the beam of light. Here is a good example of colloidal solution. If you talk about the Tyndall effect now, so if you have this, this is my colloidal, and this is my pure solution. So in solution, if you pass a beam of light, you will not see the path of the light here. The light will enter here, it will come out here. This path will be blank. You won't see any difference. But in case of colloidal solution, you will see a path of light here. Why? Because the particles will actually scatter this light and you will see a path here. Okay, this is Tyndall effect. So we talk about the properties of colloidal solution. We have discussed this. Let me write one second for you. This is homogeneous. Okay, this is particle size is big enough to scatter beam of light. Is big enough to scatter beam of light. Right, this is called a Tyndall effect, and they do not settle down when they left undisturbed. That means it is also stable. If you mix milk and water, and then if you leave it for one day also, you won't see the milk getting settled down, right? And it can't be separated using filtration process. You take a filter paper and try to pass the whole solution, you will see that filter paper will not be able to separate, because filter paper will not be able to separate the solute and solvent, because the solute particles are little small here, right? These particles are small. Particles are small enough that you can't see from naked eye. Big enough to scatter beam of light, but small enough that can't be seen from naked eyes. Okay, but you can actually separate them using centrifugation. Centrifugation, you can actually separate them. Centrifugation is a process where actually if you boil the milk, okay, do one thing, try this activity in the home, boil the milk and then keep it up for 2 hours. What you will see a layer. This is a milk boil, let's suppose, and you boil it and you keep it for 2 hours. You'll see a layer of cream on the top of the milk. On the top surface of the milk, you'll see a layer of cream. Why the cream has come? Because the cream is actually, cream is the main colloidal particle which is dissolved in the milk, right? If you take out the cream, it becomes toned milk that has less concentration of cream. Cream is the main colloidal particle, but the cream is lighter. Since it is lighter, and you have boiled it, right, and then slowly the vapors comes up, and with that the cream also comes up and get deposited on the top. Or you can use some centrifugation technique. With that also you can actually separate the cream and the water, right, the milk colloidal particle and the water. But typically if you keep it without doing anything, it will not settle down. It is stable. To separate it, you have to apply some extra method. In case of suspension, if you keep it for some time, the solute particles will on its own come down. But here, that is not the case. So we talk about the colloids, we talk about the dispersed phase and dispersion medium. So in case of solution, we were talking about solute and solvent. Here we talk about dispersed phase and dispersion medium. Right? So typically here my solvent is the dispersion medium and dispersed phase is solute. But we use this term dispersed phase and dispersion medium. So dispersed phase is the particle which is dispersed, and dispersion medium is the medium on which you have these particles. Right? So now based on the dispersed phase and dispersion medium, we actually classify this colloids into different types. Similar to solution also we had solute and solvent, and based on the physical state of solute and solvent, that is solid, liquid or gas, we classify into 9 types. Here also we'll classify into some type based on the dispersed phase and dispersion medium. Dispersed phase and dispersion medium are typically these terms used as solute and solvent, but only for colloids. Okay, the moment you think of colloid, think of milk. So here the red particles are my dispersed phase and the blue are my dispersion medium. Okay, so let's see the classification of the colloids based on the physical state of dispersed phase and dispersion medium. So if you see here, so we don't have 9 classification, we have only 8 classification. See here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we don't have gas in gas. Gas in gas is not there, because if both are gas, typically we get solution, because the gas particle itself are small, right? If the both particles are small, you get solution, you don't get colloids. So typically you have 8 types of colloids. In solution we had 9 types of solution. Something you can remember here. Okay, so we talk about examples. For example, dispersed phase is liquid, medium is gas. So liquid in gas, the major chunk is gas, we have some liquid. Example is fog, right? The majority is gas, but it has some liquid particles, or cloud, or the mist. The second is solid in gas. Majority is gas, you have some solid. Example is smoke. If you see the smoke particles from the factories, it has all the sulfur, carbon particles, right? Or the smoke coming from the vehicle. If you just keep your fingers near the exhaust of the vehicle, don't touch it, it will be hot. You'll see that the smoke particles will actually put a black color on your finger, and that black color is nothing but carbon particles, and carbon is solid, right? So a good example is smoke from automobile. So these are colloids, and these are called aerosols. They have given different names for these kind of colloids. Gas and liquid, mostly you have liquid, but you have some gas. For example, shaving cream, mostly it is liquid, but it will have gas bubbles. Liquid and liquid, a good example is they call it emulsion, and the good example is milk. Milk is a good example where the colloids, dispersion phase and dispersion medium both are liquid. Water and actual milk particles both are liquid. Or the face cream, solid in liquid. So example is mud. Okay, gas in solid, good example is foam. This foam, right? Liquid in solid, good example is cheese, butter. So you have actually the whole thing is solid, but you have some liquid particles there. Solid and solid, a good example is this colored gemstone. So you can see from here, liquid and gas was this fog, solid and gas was smoke, gas and liquid was shaving cream, or you can say the cream which we, the foam, the froth, the soap froth or the froth in the cold drink. Liquid and liquid is a good example of milk. Solid and liquid, a good example is mud or paint itself. Paint has some solid particles that dissolve in the liquid. Okay. Gas and solid, a good example is foam or sponge. Liquid and solid, good example is butter and jelly. And solid and solid, the good example is a colored gemstone or the milky glass. Okay. So these are the classification of colloids. Only 8 classification. Just think or just see things around you. Try to classify them. Do you think it's a colloid? Do you think it's a solution? Do you think it's suspension? So with that, you'll get a fair idea of what the particle is. Okay? Most of the thing around you will be a mixture only. You'll find very rare pure substance. Pure substance are rare actually in front of you. Whatever you see, the drinking water, the tube light, the computer, the pen, pencil, everything is a mixture. Just imagine this, just think about it and just imagine what are they. Let's take some questions. The question is how a solution is also called sol, please remember that. Solution, suspension, are different. Sol or colloid actually. Sol is also called colloidal solution, right? Sol is nothing but colloidal solution. So let's see the difference. One is sol or colloidal solution. The second one is solution. And the third one is suspension. Okay. So let's see the difference. The first one is, we know that colloidal are homogeneous. In fact, this is a debatable topic. Some say it's heterogeneous. Solution is for sure homogeneous. Suspension is heterogeneous. Okay. If you talk about the Tyndall effect, colloidal solution, yes, Tyndall effect. They show. Solution, they don't show. Suspension also show to some extent. Colloidal, they are stable. Solution are very stable. And suspension, they are not stable at all. I'll say very stable. Okay, these are okay type stables. And they can't be, the colloidal solution can't separate. Filtration will not help you. Filtration will not help you. Here also filtration will not help you, but here filtration will help you to separate the solid particles. Okay, example in this case will be milk plus water, or even if you can take blood and water. In fact, blood itself is the example of colloidal solution. Right? In this case of solution, you can take common salt and water or sugar and water. Suspension, a good example is mud and water, or you can take even sand and water. Okay, let's take one more example, numerical. So it says to make a saturated solution, 36 gram of sodium chloride is dissolved in 100 gram of water. So 36 gram of sodium chloride, so my solute is 36 gram. Water is solvent, solvent is 100 gram. Total I get solution as 136 gram. This you can write first. Now see the question. So saturated solution, 36 gram of sodium chloride dissolved in 100 gram of water at a given temperature. Find the concentration at this temperature. We know that the concentration is dependent on temperature, but this data will not use. This is just to make sure that we have to find the concentration at this temperature. So concentration we know is nothing but mass of solute by mass of solution. Please note here it is mass of solution, not solvent, into 100. That is 36 by, this is 136, both side gram into 100, percent is gram, gram cancel. So we solve this, you get 26.5% approximately. So that is the answer. Okay. So now we know different kind of mixture. We know what are solution, what is colloidal solution, what is colloids actually, what is suspension. Now let's take some of these mixtures and try to see if we can separate them. Thank you. Visit examfear.com to watch more videos, attempt free online tests, get free study materials, find tutors and mentors, and much more. Thanks once again.